What do you think of Wakanda?
Stories just don't do this place justice.
I've come back for my son.
Zamunda, Wakanda, Connecticut, I don't know where you from.
Because there's a bunch of devil worshippers in Hollywood. And there's a lot of black folks too. And they be throwing up them signs, you see them, this, that, all of them. Watch the rappers, watch them folks. It's scary. It's very scary. That devil is real.
Well, what is this?
Oh, the devil in this mess, yeah.
Because I closed this up. I thought this was rock on.
Be careful. No, the goat, be careful. They'll get you. Be careful.
Let me keep my hands down. I was doing like this, like rock on. It's like, no.
No, watch them.
It's easier to become rich than to stay rich. Ega bro gongo mwas, the money is not a problem of urgent 2K. Put call. Make way for a rich man whose pocket will never run dry because of his ability to think and utilize ideas.
I just want to tell you for this man a minute, get yourself a word. That's right. Get yourself a promise from God.
Right? But God is all of those things at one time. Nobody like him. And so when we talk about his love,
and be diligent student of the word, especially in these last days. All right?
He said, look at Pastor Jenny's hand gestures.
Dice, mira cómo mueve sus manos y
you know, because sometimes I may stand like this.
Right. Sí, porque a veces que se para así.
He said, why he making a pyramid?
Y dice que está haciendo una pirámide con sus manos.
You dumb, ignorant, hell-bound thing.
No sé.
The world is truly a stage.
Being the first interview I gave to The Matrix, and be smart enough to ask questions people were genuinely interested in. We have a men's mental health crisis. Young men are disenfranchised. The suicide rate amongst men is much higher than women, and everybody pretends to care. But when I come along and say, I am a man,
of the illustrious founder of Omega Sci-Fi.
And the minister is not lying. I seen him growing up in Port Arthur, where I'm from.
But my thing is, if the Divine Nine, which is the HBCU, sororities, and fraternities, if they have so much power, why haven't they asked Joe Biden to actually do things for black people that matters, like reparations, getting rid of qualified immunity, and a whole host of other things? What are they doing with all this power besides hoarding it for themselves? Y'all tell me.
Spiritual babies on milk, beloveds. I've said too much without saying enough, beloveds. But may those who have ears hear.
The Freemasons, there's also the female side, which a lot of people don't talk about, the Eastern Star, which I won't even get too deep into now.
The Prince Hall Grand Lodge here in the Bahamas making history. The fraternal body announced the appointment of its most worshipful Grand Master and past Grand Priest Leslie Dean to the position of Most Excellent General of Grand Conference Grand Priest of Grand Chapters in the United States and the Bahamas. Dean, who was initiated into Prince Hall Masonry in 1975 in Long Island, is the first Bahamian to be elected to this high post. At a press conference on Thursday, the Most Excellent General High Priest talked about the new position and what it all means for lodge members throughout this country. Now, the Most Excellent General also talked about his future plans to empower young people.
Since assuming office on June 23rd, we have appointed an
But look, man, hopefully y'all been having a good day. Just know we're going through this thing called life together. Let's get it. Throw your hood up. Throw your hood up. Throw your hood up. Hood up.
This is totally unreal that this happened like in 1942 on this planet. Extraterrestrial come from who knows where out in the galaxy. Germany gets to be the country that these Draco reptilians pick out to do two types of missions. One, to remove all of the people that Hitler didn't want in his country, and every one of them around the planet. Two, to take every man, woman, and child on this planet and put them in slave factories, men, women, and children, to build and construct all these different types of Draco Navy space battle group ships. This may sound like insanity. This is what happened.
He had concluded from what these insiders were telling him that the Germans had actually made treaties with a highly aggressive and highly negative reptilian humanoid race that they've called the Saurians or the Draco. This treaty involved the Nazis actually being given workable technology that is built with our own conventional systems. They use a sort of mercury turbine, or type of mercury called red mercury. And then they are actually able to leave the Earth. They had a settlement on the moon, they had a settlement on Mars, and they were doing this stuff as early as 1939, even before World War II actually started. As you can imagine, everybody was thinking he was crazy, but yet these insiders were reporting literally standing there, in which you have 8 foot tall, even 12 to 14 foot tall reptilian extraterrestrials, terrifying in appearance, they smell bad, actually advising the Germans on how to build this stuff in these various bases, including that in Antarctica.
Operation High Jump was an operation commissioned in 1947 that was led by Admiral Richard Byrd. And on the public level, it was said that this was a scientific exploration. But what happened was that this operation was commissioned with 33 ships, 13 aircraft, and 5,000 men. Now, this was not a scientific exploration with that many men and that many ships. What Operation High Jump actually was commissioned for was to go down to Antarctica and basically root out the Nazi installations that they had built pre and during World War II. The DC flyover was an event that occurred over successive weekends in July of 1952 in Washington, DC. And what had happened was that there was a mass sighting right over the Capitol building in Washington, DC. There was many lights in the sky. Now, many people believe that this was a UFO or an extraterrestrial incident, but in fact it was not. It was German saucers, German craft that were flying over the Capitol building and essentially forcing the hand of the Americans to accept many of these Nazi scientists into their control structures. When many of these Nazi scientists came into America after World War II in Operation Paperclip, they infiltrated into basically every power structure in the United States, government, media, medical systems, basically everything. After World War II, James Forrestal went to Germany to tour many of the research facilities that the Germans had over in Europe, and John F. Kennedy actually accompanied him on those tours. Some believe that Kennedy was actually given information by Forrestal about secret space programs and the UFO phenomenon. And near the end of James Forrestal's career, he was also embroiled in many policy struggles within the United States government. He wanted to disclose the UFO phenomenon and the technologies associated with it. It was said that he committed suicide by jumping out of a high-rise hospital that he was staying in at the time of his death. But of course, many people are also believing that he was actually pushed out of the window and in fact assassinated to prevent him from working to disclose these technologies in UFO.
I hit you because I remember when I met you and you was telling me about the O,
and your different ties, you know, across the country. And I was running by. I was talking about in the Blue Bible how within the my experience through the streets and even prison, I came into knowledge about more science. You feel what I'm saying? By running into some stones, you know. And I wanted to read a part of my book where I talk about that. Feel me? And get your opinion, you know. So,
right.
So right here, I said, when I was growing up, the Pirus wore burgundy bandanas. Crips referred to our bandanas as blue rags, and every set had its own unique rag. The Bloods didn't use the terms bandana or rag. They called their bandanas flags. For Pirus, the red represented the color of roosters. For Stones, the red flag had a deeper meaning. According to BPSN, the red flag of Morocco. Wait, hold on. The red flag of Morocco. No, my bad. According to the BPSN, the red flag is the flag of Morocco. The U.S. government teaches its citizens to fear red flags because Morocco was its first enemy. Right. The people they labeled Negro in 1740, in the Negro Act of 1740, were Moroccans that had settled in North America before Columbus reached I-80. You feel what I'm saying? Now, the Stones had other symbols they taught me, right? The pentagrams I saw symbolized what they called the Five. All fives were allies with other Chicago gangs that represent the Five and other and their collective. So what I wanted to ask you was this. I don't know how much you know about this, but with the ones that's called the Fives, right? I always looked at that as they were obviously the groups of people that were there before it turned into banging, because I see five in just Islam, period. You feel what I'm saying? I see five fingers, 5 toes. I see the five a lot, period. You feel what I'm saying? Even the 5 points on the flag, you know what I mean? Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. You know?
It definitely has some symbology and definitely some Islamic connections to all that whole paradigm that you just said. Yeah, I'm familiar with the I come from a background. I'm Damu, for those who don't know. You know what I mean? I come from that background too as well. But once I gain knowledge itself, you will see that even within the whole street aspect and the street gangs and the dynamics of that, and how it coincides with the Moorish paradigm, the Moorish history, and us culturally as a people too.
Yeah, I look at it more like when I tell people, like, I'm not trying to justify nothing. I'm trying to really show is that you don't have nothing to start with but the truth to even make the lie. So the more
check out this new concept. This concept of conceiving kids. Now the mother will no longer have to carry the kid for 9 months. Now it can be raised in a bag. How convenient. Mothers will no longer have to sacrifice their time and, most importantly, their bodies. Does this sound like something you would be interested in? I would love to tell you this is a new concept, but if you know anything about human cloning, you would know they've been doing this for quite a long time. Only now is it finding its way to consumers. What's your thoughts on this? Please leave it in the comments. Unanswered.
Well, this cartoon to 6-year-old kids in first grade that teaches them how to touch themselves. Viewer warning, this was shown to first graders, 6-year-olds, but probably not appropriate for children. That's my recommendation. 3, if you don't want them to see it, I have 1, I would just put it on off, but come back in 30 seconds. Here's a preview. Take a look.
Sometimes I touch my penis because it feels good. Sometimes when I'm in my bath or when Mom puts me to bed, I like to touch my vulva too.
Okay, beam me up. There's not intelligent life anymore in New York City. We'll play all of this extremely disturbing tape. It will shock your conscience coming up. But first,
show us how you levitate.
Yes, yoga balance is what I call it.
Yoga balance. Alrighty, well, give us a look. He's going through something here. I'm not quite sure. I think he's getting in the mood. All right, gonna get up. Nice. Alrighty, sir. Now he's gonna levitate. Uh-oh. Okay. I'll back away. Alrighty, Michael, I want you to check the feet. Oh my goodness! Show us how you levitate.
You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
Oh, Lord have mercy, another coon. Damn coons. I gotta do a coon analysis and a coon screening.
It only takes a little bit of white brainwash to activate the coon chip in the average Negro.
You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
Oh, Lord have mercy, another coon. Damn coons. I gotta do a coon analysis and a coon screening.
Did you know in Nigeria and other places in West Africa have secret societies who now operate off campus as well? Often with members who never went to university. Roland was a first-year student when he joined the Buccaneers, a secret illegal student society in Nigeria. A brutal initiation ritual was held late at night in the forest. Older members, singing, dancing and drinking, formed a ring around him and other blindfolded initiates, beating them severely until the early hours of the morning. The ritual was supposedly to purge the initiates of weaknesses and instill bravery in them. The moment you go in there and come out, you are a different person, Roland told the BBC. They have a chain of command similar to militia groups, use code words, and have insignia bearing the favorite weapon of the cult, along with its color. Members are promised protection from rival gangs, but it is mostly about power and popularity. These secret societies are banned in Nigeria, and hundreds of members have been arrested and prosecuted over the years.
British invaded in the late 1790s, and then 20 years later in the 1810s, the British were the main trading partner during the Kingdom of Haiti. So like I said, an enemy could become an ally could become an enemy, depending on the situation. But my assessment is this: every good thing and every bad thing that you apply to the European, you could also apply to the Arab, right? The European enslaved us, the Arab enslaved us for longer, right? The Arab enslaved us for longer. The European waged wars of conquest against us, the Arab waged wars of conquest against us, and evicted us from North Africa. Not only did the Arab wage wars of conquest against us, but they also established a bunch of colonial settler nations all over North Africa. They evicted us from North Africa. Y'all talking about Israel is a colonial settler nation, they are the invaders, and they are colonial settlers. Well, what the fuck is North Africa? What the hell is all the Arab nations in North Africa if they're not colonial settler nations established by invaders from the Arab world? So not only did the Arab enslave us for longer than the European, but he also stole more land from us than the European. And now in the present day, we get treated as third and fourth and fifth class citizens in the nations that we were formerly indigenous to. Y'all talk about South Africa, apartheid South Africa. That's a little tiny little section in South Africa. The Arabs then took the whole north section of Africa, bro. Took the whole shit, kicked the black man out, said, "This my shit now, bitch." That's what the Arab told you. And now in the modern day, you tap dancing and twerking talking about the Arab is my homie. Yo, the black man is not ready for power, bro. The black man ain't ready for power. The black man ain't ready for warfare. The black man ain't ready for conquest. The black man not ready to be on top. The black man not ready to be number one. The black man is not ready. The black man is not ready. The black man ain't ready. Nah. The black man ain't ready. Nah. Because like I said,
I don't see Latinos taking attention off their problems for black people. I don't see Asians taking attention off their problems for black people. I don't see East Indians taking attention off their people, for blacks, all the black people sold into slavery by the Arab nations. Has Palestine spoke out against that? Has Palestine spoke out against all the Africans in Africa, East Africa, being sold into slavery by the Arabs? I ain't heard no Palestinian say nothing about the Arab slave trade against African people. Get out of my face with that. You come to the wrong place.
And begins to dissect the matter with his question. Quote, if we do not wish to argue against them from betrayal of Louis the Saint and King of Jerusalem, from the surrender of the castles of Karak and Acre, from the aliens struck with the assassins, from the connivance with the Sultan of Egypt, if we did not care to give credence to the frequent confessions about the worship of the idol, the spitting and the trampling of the cross, and the unspeakable crimes committed or permitted, what prevents us from considering all these things not only as probable, but also true, when we consider the nature of men in the times and find a similar doctrine and similar customs in so many other sects of the Middle Ages? End quote. He's basically saying, why are we to consider, as the historians tell us, that these things are false, yet they have the exact same philosophy as the orders of the Middle Ages? He believes this connection is the evidence, but it takes one who can see symbols to understand them. Also, there are more controversies that he mentions, like the unrestrained military conduct in various Eastern sects, and especially in the famous Manichaeans, Albigensians, Mazdeans, and Assassins during the wars for the recovery of the Lord's tomb. That the plague of this doctrine and crime also crept into the society of Christian soldiers, whose founders could not associate a single candidate with themselves for a decade until they took refuge in the bosom of the church, concealing the secret doctrine, according to all probability, already existing at that time under the institution of Saint Bernard. Which is interesting if we consider the plot and background of the Assassin's Creed games, but this is history. The Assassins he's speaking of is an order that normally does not get brought up when discussing the Templars. That this Christian military order was doing secret business with the Nizari Ismaili, or the Assassins, a medieval Islamic sect led by Hassan Sabah, which was operating in the same time period and founded 200 years prior to the Templars at the beginning of the millennium. There are several references to this one popular account. It's called the Old Man of the Mountain, who was an assassin that is referenced in the Book of the Marvels of the World by Marco Polo. There's a lot to break down on the Assassins, but we can say this, that the Assassins were essentially the mystery sect or Islamic version of the Christian mystery sect, and both these sects have very similar initiations and philosophies, and that's the main premise of this book, Mysterium Baphomet Unveiled. Okay, but back to the book. Perkstall is saying that these religious sects were operating under the guise of religion. It was just a front. So he starts off with the term idols, because remember, our term Baphomet is what we use to communicate in terms of the possibility of the deity that they worshipped. But he says it that way because typically Baphomet is a goat-headed demon, but there are other forms to consider. He does this by looking at their artifacts, and this includes their mysterious cups or chalices, sculptures, and the coins of the Templars. One last line from the preface and we're going to dive into these symbols. Quote, for this reason, bundles of original documents and processes sealed to this day in Rome lie hidden, which, as all things were eventually brought to light, we do not doubt will wonderfully agree with the monuments we've discovered and revealed when they become part of public law. In the meantime, these stone and bronze monuments, taken from the secret discipline and harmful doctrine of the Brothers of the Military Order of the Temple, will suffice to convince all.
Here we back. Now, take a look up on the screen. I seen this tweet from this brother that I think really summarizes my thoughts on the situation. He said this: Africans have historically been tormented by two major people, the European and the Arab. They have competed to harm, enslave, and conquer Africa still to this day. While what's happening to Palestinians is unfortunate, so is the plight of Africans in Mauritania, Sudan, Libya, and the Arab world in general. And you can also throw Tunisia in there, because if you've been following the events in the past few months or the past year, then you know it was very hectic for our family in Tunisia. You know, the Arabs in Tunisia had our brothers and sisters and our women and our children running out of Tunisia for their lives, for real. So I know y'all don't care about that because you didn't make no noise for that. You didn't make any noise for that when it was happening. But now you want to tap dance and twerk and bust it open on a pole for the Arab. But anyways, let's talk about what happened to the family in Tunisia. Take a look up on the screen. Anti-black racism surfaces in an African country. Critics are blaming the president for it. And as you can see, this y'all Arab brother on the screen. You know, your black and brown brother. This your brother right here. You know, the president of Tunisia. That's your brother. That's your brother, not my brother, but it's your brother. Your brown brother. Not my brother, not my family, but your brother. Anyway, let's continue. A viral video from late February showed a man decrying the incompatibility of black African values with those of the Tunisians. Asked by the interviewer if he had ever met any Africans, he replied by saying that he knows them well because my grandfather used to buy and sell them. Late last month, Tunisia's authoritarian president, President Said, borrowed yet another page from the global neo-fascist playbook and engaged in anti-black racism to unleash a reign of terror. At a February meeting of the National Security Council, he described undocumented black African immigrants as hordes bringing violence and crime to Tunisia. He then went on to embrace the white supremacist Great Replacement conspiracy theory and alleged that immigration from sub-Saharan African countries is aimed at changing Tunisia's demographic composition. The undeclared goal of the waves of illegal immigration is to consider Tunisia a purely African country that has no affiliation to the Arab and Islamic nations, President Said said. Now, time out. The president of Tunisia, which is in Africa, right? It's not in the Middle East, it's in Africa, right? But he's an Arab, keep in mind. So he said that the fact that Tunisia serves as a transit point for Africans to get into Europe, he said that is going to change the demographics of the nation. And he is upset about that because he doesn't want Tunisia to be separated from the Arab and Islamic world. He doesn't want Tunisia to be attached to the African world. And everything he said serves as confirmation to everything I've been saying because, like I said, you trying to stand in solidarity with the Arab, but the Arab openly proclaims to the world that he does not even want to be associated with you, even on the African continent. So imagine how the Arabs in the Middle East feel. In the homeland, imagine how they feel in the Middle East if the Arabs in Africa don't even want to mess with you, man. Now, let's continue. The president's blatantly racist comments triggered a wave of violence and abuse against thousands of black Africans who reside, study, and work in Tunisia, as well as black Tunisian citizens who make up 10% of the population, bruh. 10%. So just a few months ago, the Arabs in Tunisia was putting foot to ass, making us leave the country, running for our lives. And y'all didn't say a word, man. But now all of a sudden we got to stand in solidarity with the Arabs in the West Bank. We got to stand in solidarity with the Arabs on the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile,
represent Saturn. So look around and keep your eye peeled for the symbolism and the pose of the Illuminati's marked Master Mason. Nikola Tesla often posed showing you this symbolism. And here we see Nikola Tesla with the Illuminati's number of 23. Nikola Tesla was famous when he illuminated the Chicago World's Fair on May 1st, the day the Illuminati was formed.
In Atlanta right now, you have something called Spelman College. That's John D. Rockefeller's wife. Her last name is Spelman. Her last name is Spelman.
That's the man's wife?
That's his wife.
Look at Spelman down south.
Man, Google it right now. Google who spelled.
Go look this up real quick.
Mrs. Laura Spelman Rockefeller.
Ooh, let's not talk about Morehouse. Look, you think it goes back to somebody that's black? They don't.
What?
Just like you can trace back all the presidents to come from one entity, come from one bloodline, you can do the same thing with every medical college. Now, within the last 20 years, there's a bunch of new medical colleges that came up outside of that, which still follow the curriculum, but don't have their name. But when you start studying these names, man, they go back to John D. Rockefeller family, man. That's why if you go and you teach against them, you can get locked up and persecuted because he sits at the head of the federal directors in the federal Supreme Court. John D. Rockefeller, man, he controlled the damn world, man. Him and the Carnegies.
Girl, how you shake it, got a nigga like a Kodak.
When Satan fell, he drew after him 1/3 of the angels. Of those, some were reserved in chains awaiting judgment. 2 Peter 2-4. For if God didn't spare the angels who sinned, but threw them down into Tartarus, and delivered them to be kept in chains of darkness until judgment. Jude 1-6. And he has kept, with eternal chains in darkness for the judgment of the great day, angels who did not keep their own position, but deserted their proper dwelling. There are also demons or devils roaming the earth. An example can be seen when Jesus encountered the man with an unclean spirit in Mark 5 verse 9. These demons are Satan's servants in all his undertakings and share his fate. Satan is the chief fallen angel of God. The book of Enoch says that 200 angels fell to earth on Mount Hermon in the days of Jared, but only about 20 leaders, each leading a host of tens, are known. Alphabetically they are Orakiel, Armaros, Asbiel, Azazel, Barakiel, Bateriel, Chazakiel, Daniel, Kadriel, Kokabiel, Penamiel, Ramiel, Seriel, Sathariel, Shamziel, Tamiel, Turiel, Yequan, Yomiel, Sakiel.
In Turkey, but right now still it's like I know every time I go to Africa and I visit Egypt, I'm going to see something new every single time. And because my clout is so big there, I get a chance to see things that nobody on this planet still to this day have never seen.
You a legend. I heard you a legend in Egypt, Billy.
Yeah.
I heard you. I heard it's for real. Like you superstar status over there.
Yeah, I'm pretty. The governors, the president, the people who are in charge of antiquities, the board of antiquities, all the people that are in charge of all these ancient sites, and the people who are like literally in charge of locking the doors and keeping people out or allowing the military to come in. They're all really good friends. They're all very, very good people, incredible men that, have taken a liking to me. And for that reason, we've been able to get a lot of who is our main connection over there that, man, this guy is just an amazing guy. Matter of fact, I just published his first book, which became a bestseller in one day. Egypt Before the Written History is the name of the book. And he's a homegrown Egyptologist, born there, grown there, lived there. And we partnered together. We have 2 brand new Mercedes-Benz tour bus 5-star hotels. And we do private visits all throughout Egypt. Private visit means when we show up, all the tourists got to get out because now it's forbidden family time. That's the level that we have over there.
Indeed.
What's done in the dark?
What's done in the dark?
They're letting you guys know. Wake up. They're letting you know now.
Good morning, Miss Garcia.
Good morning, sunshine. I miss you. I can kiss you right now.
Someday.
Curfew is now in effect. All unauthorized citizens must stay indoors.
Tensions rise as we enter the 213th week of lockdown.
A grim new reality emerges.
COVID-23 has mutated.
Beginning thermal scan. Thermal scan normal.
A horrifying new development
New
today.
data confirms the virus attacks the brain tissue.
Whoa! I'm immune!
over 110 minutes.
All infected Americans are being forced into quarantine camps.
Sarah, what's going on?
That's especially true when it comes to Medicare.
Department of Sanitation. Sarah, talk to me.
I think my neighbor has a fever.
It'll be so much easier if you just open the door. Mrs. Grant, you have visitors.
Please, Sarah, open the door.
Sarah, do not open that door.
Beginning thermal scan. 3, 2, 1. Anomaly detected. Park guards will be arriving in 4 to 6 hours. You must not attempt to leave your home, or you will be shut on site. Build new bone. Evenity can help in just 12 months. This is not sense to you.
I know you're in there.
What's done in the dark?
They're letting.
This is not sense to you.
I know you're in there.
They're coming. When you go.
No.
Sarah! Say goodbye to me.
Sarah, I'm not letting you give up.
This is not Sometimes we have to do things we don't want to survive.
I'm trying to save the one person left in my life that matters to me.
I can't help you. What you're talking about is illegal.
Give the gift that's simple. Just a little gonna be alright. And remember, stay safe, stay and sanitize.
They're.
What's done in the dark? Whose man's is this? Is this your king?
Of this or that or why, but the concept is the person who started he was a member of the Nation of Islam, but the Nation of Islam actually has a group of secret teachings that teaches that, you know what I mean, man himself, the original man, is God in the flesh. You feel what I'm saying? And this
Darwin philosophy, a lot of different
warlocks will never tell.
Well, I'm very much into philosophy, a lot of different philosophers that I've read over the years, like Nietzsche, Darwin, Freud, Aleister Crowley, and finally Anton LaVey. And fortunately, he's still alive, so I got to meet with him and talk about his ideas and things like that. And in America, Satanism is sensationalized and kind of misunderstood, and people associate it with worshiping the devil and things like that. But it's really a philosophy about individuality and self-preservation. It's about being your own God.
The original man is God in the flesh.
Another symbol that links Freemasonry and Jesus is the letter G, which is often placed in the center of the square and compasses. The letter G has multiple meanings in Masonry, but one of them is geometry, the science of measuring and building. Geometry is also the basis of architecture, which is the art of designing and constructing edifices. Masons are taught to regard themselves as builders, both literally and figuratively. They are expected to use their skills and knowledge to improve themselves and society, and to erect temples in their hearts for God to dwell in. But Jesus was also a builder, both literally and figuratively. He was a carpenter by trade, who worked with wood and stone to create useful and beautiful objects. He was also a spiritual builder, who laid the foundation for a new covenant.
name is MC Shah-Rock. I am a founding member of the MC/rap culture.
Cassette tapes was the internet of our time. It just traveled around by hand.
I know for a fact that the B-Boy stand started from the gods, the 5%ers that would be at the jams back in the days who were acting as security.
If they get the real truth of how it...
I know for a fact that the B-Boy stand started from the gods, the 5%ers that would be at the jams back in the days who were acting as security.
If they get the real truth.
The controversial topic is that single moms can raise sons on their own.
No, that's impossible. You can only show them how to be a good woman. Men that our mothers are telling us to be don't even exist in her bed. Our mothers are telling us to be the kind of man she can't even attract into the house. So how can she guide me to be a man when she don't even have a man? She don't even know a man. Her daddy was fucked up. Her brother was fucked up. My daddy was fucked up. She had a baby by my sisters. How can she tell me what kind of man to be? She ain't mama, you ain't got a man. Oh, hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man. Of the man you got, look what kind of man you got, mama. How you gonna shape us boys to be this kind of man that don't even exist but nowhere in your head? That's what's happening to the black boy, trying to listen to his mama, become a black man that don't even exist nowhere but in his mother's head. With these unrealistic expectations of a man.
And then it says that his relatives, in Herzog and Enki and everybody, they moaned and groaned and they cried and they watched their creation become, destroyed from space. Crazy stuff, man.
So was dinosaurs around at this time that the giants were around?
Good question.
Some people think the dinosaurs didn't exist. They were really dragons. Like I hear so much stuff. What's your thoughts on just dinosaurs even existing?
And dinosaurs. You're talking to a person that's been on actual archaeological sites and have the photos of me on archaeological dig sites. Yeah, a lot of the people that say these things, they haven't left their zip code. And I'm not trying to insult anybody, but we got to start relying on hearsay for all of our information. You know what I'm saying? Before people start talking about things, they should save up their money and buy airplane tickets and go to these sites and start digging in the ground. I spent countless hours digging in archaeological dig sites, countless hours using paintbrushes to scrape away stuff to see what's underneath. Dinosaurs are real. Matter of fact, the reason why dinosaur bones in museums have lead paint on them is because there's evidence that the bones are radioactive. They want to keep the radiation contained. Now, why are the bones radioactive on the majority of the dinosaur bones that they find? It means that at some point, that one strike wasn't enough to kill all the dinosaurs, that one asteroid strike, but at some point, there was some type of a war on this planet, just like the text says. There were two, actually, that was nuclear. And this nuclear war, you can find that they wiped out a lot of dinosaurs. And the evidence of this nuclear war is in the bones with the higher than background noise level radiation that's in these dinosaurs' bones. So dinosaurs are real. Now, did dragons exist? It's possible, but there are all different types of levels of bones that have been found. And we know for a fact, like when I went to Cambodia, there's evidence that human beings walked along with dinosaurs. Why? Because they etched stegosauruses into their temples while they were alive with the meat on their bones. Not something they found.
Earth was approaching another calamity, which was a war. There was going to be a major war that was fought in this time period. And Enlil was told by an emissary to choose a people to represent his interests. Enlil is...
Doc, I read the story. I read the interview with...
All right, give me a good flip.
So, how many people would a nuclear war between the United States and Russia?
Millions of humans.
What if I told you that the ancient civilizations before us possessed groundbreaking technological advancements comparable to the atomic capabilities of today? There is evidence found in India's remains that supports this claim. Ancient myths also depict scenes that align with our modern understanding of nuclear warfare. Ancient texts from thousands of years ago seem to contain descriptions that could be interpreted as accurate depictions of nuclear explosions, similar to the one in Nagasaki during World War II. Consider the epic Sanskrit tale from India called the Mahabharata, which narrates the story of destiny and destruction. It includes passages that remarkably describe the effects and aftermath of a nuclear war. The writings mention massive explosions, brighter than 1,000 suns, and bodies burned beyond recognition. There are several other verses that align with our contemporary understanding of an atomic attack. According to this legend, survivors of the catastrophe experienced hair and nail loss, while their food supplies were contaminated. matching our knowledge of the effects of radiation sickness and radioactive contamination following a nuclear blast. Some scientists, often underestimated, believe it is a possibility that civilizations existed in the distant past that were as advanced, if not more advanced, than our present-day civilization. These scientists have presented evidence to support this claim. In the northwestern region of India, specifically Rajasthan, a layer of highly radioactive ash was discovered near Jodhpur, prompting an investigation. Subsequently, ancient ruins of Harappa to the north and Mohenjo-Daro to the west, both located in present-day Pakistan, revealed evidence of a nuclear explosion dating back thousands of years. Mohenjo-Daro, built around 2500 BC, was rediscovered in the 1920s and has since undergone significant excavations. When the excavation reached street level, 44 scattered skeletons were found throughout the city, indicating a sudden and violent death. Certain areas of the site also exhibited elevated levels of radioactivity. David Davenport, an English-Indian researcher, observed what appeared to be the epicenter of the explosion, a 50-yard radius at the site where all objects were fused and transformed into a glass-like substance due to temperatures of approximately 1500 degrees Celsius. In his book, Enigmas of Ancient History, A. Gorbowski mentions that at least one skeleton found at the site had over 200 times the expected level of radiation. Additionally, numerous black stones, which were once clay vessels, were discovered fused together due to intense heat. Davenport further explained that the findings at Mohenjo-Daro exactly mimic the effects of the aftermath observed in Hiroshima and Nagasaki during the 20th century. However, other scientists have disputed these findings, providing evidence suggesting that the bodies found at Mohenjo-Daro were simply part of a mass grave of a chaotic and disrespectful nature. Critics argue that the simple mud brick structures should have been completely destroyed by a nuclear blast, yet some of these structures remain standing at heights of 15 feet. Nevertheless, there appears to be sufficient evidence for us to contemplate. Could there be more to our human history than what...
And I'm a fan of HGTV.
Yeah, and it's your own cousin.
Yeah, and who can't trust family?
My name is Ramo Bay, and it's my wife,
Michelle Nicole Bay.
That's Amira's cousin, Michelle Bay. She and her husband, Ramo Bay, run iFlip Chicago. In addition to boot camps, the company offers joint venture partnerships to first-time investors who want to flip a home.
There were a lot of people who had successfully done flips with him.
Tatiana Barnett is a realtor and iFlip boot camp graduate. Both she and Amira say after the boot camp, they were recruited into iFlip's joint venture program. It was supposed to work like this. Participants would have to provide some upfront capital. iFlip would find the property, provide access to the lender, and oversee the renovation. Then iFlip would sell the home for you and take 30% of the total profit.
You don't have to worry about any of this stuff because they have all of these relationships.
To get financing through iFlip's preferred lender, Ramo Bay told the women his name had to be on their loan.
Being in real estate, it's not something that's unheard of if you don't have a track record of doing, fix and flips with lenders.
At closing, each woman hired iFlip's preferred real estate attorney, Alex Ranja, to represent them. But Tatiana says Ranja never showed up at her closing.
They didn't know it yet, but in hindsight, this is where they say things went terribly wrong. Buried in the hundreds of pages of documents they signed during closing were 4 sentences in the loan agreement that put them on the hook for Ramo Bay's debts. It was part of a cross-default and collateralization clause that meant if Ramo went delinquent on any of his own loans, the lender would charge what Ramo owed to the loans he held with other iFlip participants, like Amira and Tatiana.
Crazy. So basically they got trapped up because the Bays allegedly used the new properties to secure previous active loans, which happened to be multiple loans from the same lender, meaning these new deals involving the new investors were instantly connected to old deals tied into this cross-default clause. Something like this, it's all good until it's all bad. And obviously they're speaking out right now because it's no longer all good.
And Ramo had several past due balances.
The women's loan documents show they were charged
things like they're trying to help black people, the black neighborhood, black wealth, black business. This is the easiest way they get over on black people. If you just keep saying black, 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 by the end of the conversation, these folks will be giving up their social security number, their life savings, their IRA, taking out.
Even, we are saying us, but I'm saying even us before, when we were taller, sort of different forms. You feel what I'm saying? With the original Asiatic black man, that's when the world was one place.
Yeah.
Like Pangea, you feel what I'm saying? When the world was one island, Al-Asiya, that's actually a Hebrew term. Al-Asiya, it's Asiya, that's the world in, it's like a Kabbalah type teaching. It's like a Kabbalah type teaching. It's the actual physical realm. When you get to that fourth, fifth realm. And
what's this? Who's this? Who's this? Oh, this is Sonetta. Hold on. Okay. Sonetta, I got to hit you up when I'm done. That's Sonetta. Sonetta, I'll hit you up when I'm done. I should have hooked up with you today, Sonetta, but we'll talk. We'll talk, Sonetta. Go past 110th Street.